Did the Emperor ever plan to invade other galaxies? And humanity's destiny is to become a race of Psykers. How powerful could they be? Let's begin, and start by going over this excerpt from The Fury of Magnus. The Emperor, gazing up through the observatory's etheric lensworks, showed Magnus the secret birth of stars, and speaking in wonder of the incomprehensible voids between them. Together they had plotted the course of future crusades, and laughed as they imagined the campaigns that would one day reach out into the fathomless gulfs between galaxies. There is nothing impossible to him who will try, his father had said, when Magnus had spoken of the nigh impossibility of reaching beyond the halo stars. No one yet alive will see it, but when humankind can fly as we fly, can see as we see, then the greatest prize of all will be within their grasp. What prize could ever be greater than dominion of the galaxy? Magnus had said. But his father had never given him an answer, turning away to hide his disappointment. The ancient ocular artifact the Emperor had wrought to scry distant galaxies swayed high above the centre of the dome on broken chains, like the corpse of an enormous mantis, wrought from spun silver, smoked glass, and gold. The obsidian speculum in its curiously angled lens apparatus had been shattered at the first impact of weaponry, and most of the device's impossibly complex workings hung like loops of intestinal tract from its split casting. Magnus's heart broke to see the damage, knowing that nothing else of its kind had ever existed and never would again. We also know the Emperor went beyond the galaxy's edge once to smack down the Crave, who take over people's minds and use them as puppets. Sadly, this is just a small mention in one of the Heresy Black Books. So let's break that passage down and look at the implications therein. Together they had plotted the course of future crusades, and laughed as they imagined the campaigns that would one day reach out into the fathomless gulfs beyond galaxies, reaching beyond the halo stars. So they planned future crusades, and if the galaxy is at peace, let's say, then where would that be but other galaxies, and beyond the halo stars? Carries meaning as the halo stars are at the edge of the galaxy in one area, in one way that you would exit it, and largely unexplored and hard to traverse, which makes passing through an issue. And a further key bit here is when mankind can fly as we fly and see as we see. In other words, humanity are now all Psykers like Magnus and his father, the Emperor. Perhaps humanity then would not even need ships, but could send their astral forms to other galaxies to watch and observe and perhaps attack, if needed. Regarding humans' ascension, we are told this is humanity's destiny, as seen by the Master of Mankind many times. Everything that has happened will happen again. It is the way of things, yet humanity's death will eclipse the Elders' annihilation tenfold, for we are evolving into a far more cyclically powerful race, the Emperor says, speaking to one of his custodies, Ra Endymion, if memory serves. The Emperor is then asked how that can be controlled and why. The necessity of it, lest mankind face a far harsher extinction than the Eldar. Their soul shines bright within the warp, drawing the predations of the beast within its tides. Soon every human soul will become a beacon of fire. Mankind is ascending Ra. Humanity is taking a great developmental step, evolving into a psychic race. Uncontrolled Psykers are lodestones for the warp's touch. A species comprising them would suffer as the Eldar suffered, and for the Eldar, this evolutionary juncture was a final step before destruction. I will not let humanity be destroyed by the same fate. The Eldar had the answers within their grasp, but were too naive and too proud to save themselves. To me as well, if you travel to other galaxies, that would mean the warp extends beyond our galaxy and spread to others. Otherwise, I would imagine your astral form would not carry there without the energy source it needs. Otherwise, it might cut you off from your soul link, perhaps. It would be like having the light on in a room with no electricity to power it. Not bloody likely. So what could this ascension of humanity look like? Referring you to the 6th edition Warhammer rulebook, humanity can cast off the mundane shackles of its current form to begin a new epoch of psionic mastery, an era of wonderment and the dawning of a hitherto unseen golden age. Utterly cut off and alone, the Emperor has assumed the role preordained for him as guardian of humanity and protector of this metamorphosis. The master of mankind knows that he must survive, must live forever if needed, until such a time as psychic humans have evolved sufficient strength to withstand the dangers they face from the warp. What would they need to defend themselves against the warp? By the nature of the 40k universe, enough of humanity goes all post-Eldari, the warp would go back to what it is now. How would he defend humanity against the predations of the warp, especially if they're all going to be Psykers and be on a higher level? Perhaps part of it is experience, knowing what to look for, and also perhaps something like the Custodes. The cellular alchemy that creates the warriors of the Custodes leave them forever touched by a spark of the Emperor's own greatness. Beyond their martial might and incorruptible nobility, this energy manifests itself as an almost supernatural warding, as though the custodians were protected by the hand of the Emperor. And also the spark of divinity within every custodian can sometimes unravel the sorcerous manifestations of the enemy. It's an idea, a thread of the big E in all the psychically ascended humans to keep them safe and never out of his sight or control. I can't imagine him ever trusting humanity enough to let them totally live by themselves. After all, if he was able to get them into the webway, starve chaos and get humanity out again to finish off what's left there, if he ever did do that, his legacy, all he had worked and strived for, could fall to ruin. Or for a more accurate attempt, perhaps, we look to the first book in the Harusian Wars trilogy to get an idea what someone could do once they just ascended, someone untrained. For context, Mylassa is an Inquisitor acolyte. She's on the bridge of the ship. The captain of the ship is a potential Psyker, and his ascension gets a thumbs up as they near the warp, and he gets a hell of a set of powers for an emergent Psyker with zero training. The captain, you need to know this, is called Cade, by the way. The bridge of the Valor's flame was a frozen tableau around her. Around Mylassa the deck was twisted and glowing with heat. Her crew was still figures caught in the act of running, turning away, staring in shock and horror. Cade spoke first. I'm going to die here in 5 seconds. I'm going to die. My body is going to be annihilated as my connection to what you call the warp overwhelms my capacity to control it. The things that you call demons will come for the echo of my dreams as I expire. They will pull the carcass of my being apart. I have seen it. Time is a flat plane. Mylassa says, you're not just an emergent, you're an Alpha Plus Psyker. I am what we might all be one day, she responded. But now is too soon for me. Cade saw the atoms spinning in the flesh of the dying and the living. She saw the threads of consequence and possibility. So with Cade's psychic powers opened up, we get an idea there of what that person could see, how they would look at things. We know with Magnus Red, for example, that he can see down deep into the bonds between atoms almost, as he does when he tries to unravel the perpetual abilities of his brother Vulcan. Anyway, back to the Harusian Wars. You need to listen, Mylassa. It is no random chance that this has happened to me. The seeds of transcendence are growing in humanity, and in this place and time, the universe is aligning to see them flower. Mylassa, remember me. And she let go of her last thought. Time crashed back into motion. The fire spreading through the deck of the Valor's flame sucked backwards through the air. Metal plates, rivets and debris spun back into place, fusing and straightening. Blood siphoned back into wounds as skin closed. Life kindled in stilled hearts as the fallen crew members gasped air into their lungs. Some looked up at where Cade's echo hung in the air, glowing white, a smile on her face, as the atoms of her flesh became ash, and then vanished in a thunderclap of light. So for example, we get there an average human ascended, becoming an Alpha Plus Psyker, though perhaps that potential was there all along. They freeze time, reverse it, fix materials with their minds, heal the body, fix organs, etc. It speaks of a real mastery of the material universe on a very precise level. I think Psykers, like humanity itself, would vary in power and ability, with all the strengths and weaknesses, and I think this would be reflected in psychic ascension. So some would be the big E's, some would be Magnus in terms of power, and some would be a heck of a lot lower than that. And if you like this video on the Emperor, try this one.